What would happen if you disappeared from her life right now? Not forever, just for a moment. What if for once you chose to walk away, leaving her to face the silence? You might think she wouldn't care, that she'd move on easily. But deep down, you know the truth. It would hit her harder than you can imagine. Not because you're gone, but because she'll suddenly realize that she took you for granted. She'll feel the absence of your presence in ways she never expected. And that's when the real pain begins. We've all experienced that moment where someone you thought would always be there is suddenly gone. It's jarring. It forces you to stop, to think, to realize what you've lost. And that's exactly what you want her to feel. You don't need to beg for attention or chase her. You just need to make her feel your absence. When you're always there, available at every turn, she doesn't realize the value you bring. But the moment you stop being an easy constant in her life, something shifts inside her. The pain isn't just about you walking away. It's about her facing the truth. She never truly understood your worth until she felt the void. This isn't about manipulation. It's about respect. Respect for yourself. Respect for your time, your energy, and your love. The harsh truth is, when you're always there, always giving, it becomes expected. People begin to take you for granted. You stop being special. But when you create space, when you step back just enough, you become something she has to work for, something she has to appreciate. And that's when the shift happens. That's when she starts to realize how much she needs you. The key is to stop showing up when she expects it. Don't chase her. Don't demand her attention. Instead, let her feel the consequences of her own actions. Let her see what life is like when you're not always available. When you stop playing the role of the man who'll always be there at the drop of a hat. It's in that space, that absence, that she'll finally realize your value. And the pain of realizing she could lose you forever will hit her like a ton of bricks. You don't have to do anything extravagant. You just need to be consistent in your self-worth. Walk away, not out of anger, but because you understand that you deserve more than to be taken for granted. Let her experience the emotion of wondering where you've gone, why you're no longer giving, no longer chasing. This is the kind of pain that forces growth, not only in her but in your relationship. By creating the space, you allow her to face what really matters. You allow her to experience the loss of someone she didn't realize was so integral to her life. And when she feels that, truly feels that loss, she'll never forget the depth of what it means to lose someone who knows their own worth. That's when she'll wish she never let you slip away. When you stop being available, something extraordinary happens. She begins to question everything. The things she took for granted, the moments you shared, the laughter, the deep conversations, the care you gave, suddenly they all become precious in her eyes. She starts to wonder if she made a mistake. Why? Because when you're always there, it's easy to forget how important you really are. But once you're gone, even if just for a short time, she's forced to face the reality of your absence. It's a wake-up call she won't ignore. It'll make her rethink her actions, her words, the way she treated you. The realization will hit her like a wave, and she won't be able to shake it off. You've shown her that you're not a permanent fixture in her life, that there's nothing guaranteed. She might not show it right away, but internally a storm is brewing. Her mind will race with thoughts of what went wrong, where things shifted, why you stopped being the one who was always there. As those thoughts linger, doubt creeps in, and with it, a growing sense of regret. The longer the silence stretches, the louder the voices inside her head become. She starts to miss you in ways she never expected, not because she's lost you completely, but because she's starting to realize that she might. The very idea that you're not there whenever she needs you, that you've chosen to live your life without chasing her, triggers something deep within her. It's in the stillness, the moments of separation, where clarity emerges. She begins to see the truth she may have been too blinded by comfort to acknowledge. She's losing something she took for granted, the thing she never thought she could lose. And in that pain, in that space, the reality hits her hard. She begins to see you for who you truly are, someone who won't beg for her attention, someone who values themselves too much to be treated as anything less than extraordinary. The discomfort of her growing realization becomes the catalyst for change, for growth. The moment you decide to pull back is the moment she's forced to look inward, to evaluate what really matters. And this is where you have the power to make her see what she never saw before, that your love, your time, your presence isn't something to be taken lightly. It's not just about creating distance. It's about showing her that your absence is far more powerful than your presence ever was. When you stop giving endlessly, when you stop chasing her every whim, she begins to understand the value of what you offer. She realizes that you are no longer an option in her life, but a priority she must fight for. This process isn't easy for her. It's uncomfortable. But in discomfort, change happens. She might try to fill the space you left, but it won't be the same. No one will ever occupy the place you once held, and the pain of that realization will drive her to a place of deep reflection, where she'll see the truth about herself, about you, and about what's truly worth fighting for. And by the time she comes to this understanding, the impact of your absence will have already changed her in ways that nothing else could. She'll never take you for granted again. And that's when she'll realize the depth of what it means to lose you. The pain of losing you isn't just about the absence. It's about the stark realization that she no longer has the power to control your presence. That's the real sting. She begins to see that you've stepped into your own power, and now you are no longer waiting around for her to decide if you're worth her time. You've shifted the dynamic. When you pull away even just a little, you take back your energy. You're no longer someone who will sacrifice their own well-being, their own goals, their own life, just to maintain her attention. And that shift, that change, creates a void so deep that it demands her attention. She won't be able to ignore it. Every moment you spend walking away, taking time for yourself, moving forward with your own life without looking back, forces her to confront something she never thought she'd face. The fact that she might lose you for good. And that fear, that deep fear of loss, will hit her harder than anything else. It's not just about her missing you, it's about her realizing that she had no idea how much she needed you until you stopped giving, and that realization is going to stick with her, gnawing at her, because it's the truth. People only understand the value of what they have once it's threatened. The beauty of this truth is that you don't have to do anything other than stand firm in your own worth. The moment you stop chasing, you force her to do the one thing she may not have been willing to do before, to fight for you. And that's where the magic happens. When you stop being the one to make all the moves, she starts to feel what it's like to fight for something that matters. And that's when her perspective will shift. She'll realize that it's not about her controlling the relationship. It's about both people being willing to give and take, to fight for one another. But if she's never had to fight for you before, she won't know how deeply that will hit her once she sees that you're not willing to be the one who's always there at her beck and call. You're not waiting around for her decision. By stepping away, you force her to feel what it's like to have someone who has the strength to walk away. This isn't about playing games. It's about showing her that you are not a convenience. You are a choice. You are someone worth fighting for. And until she realizes that, until she understands your true value, you owe it to yourself to stop sacrificing your needs for someone who doesn't appreciate you. And when the pain of losing you begins to settle in, she will start to see that it's not just about being apart, it's about her own fear of regret, the fear of losing someone who won't allow themselves to be taken for granted. She'll start questioning if she can live without someone who knows their own worth, someone who values themselves enough to walk away when they're not being treated with the respect they deserve. The pain of that fear will make her reconsider everything, the way she treated you, the way she acted, and most importantly, the way she'll approach relationships moving forward. You don't have to do anything other than be true to yourself. And in doing so, you'll show her the depth of what it means to lose you. And in that pain, she'll find the clarity she needs to see you in a new light, and she'll never take you for granted again. The moment you step into your own power, the world around you starts to shift. When you stop seeking approval, stop chasing after validation, you begin to realize something crucial: you are enough, just as you are. And that shift doesn't just impact you, it affects everyone around you. Most importantly, it will make her see you in a completely new light. You stop showing up, not because you don't care, but because you understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You realize that your own life, your dreams, your value is just as important as the relationship. And when she starts to feel that distance, when she feels the void you've left, she won't be able to ignore the truth. You are someone who knows their worth. There's power in not needing anyone, in standing firm in your own identity. When you're no longer someone who will compromise themselves just to keep someone else comfortable, you force them to face the discomfort of what it's like to lose you. And that discomfort is what drives change. The longer you stay distant, the more she'll realize that this isn't just about you walking away. It's about you choosing to walk in your own strength, choosing to put your life first, and choosing to no longer tolerate being undervalued. That's when the fear starts to set in. She won't be able to ignore the possibility of losing you forever, and that fear is what will shake her to her core. You have to understand that the moment you stop chasing, you give her the space to see the truth. People can't see value when it's always in front of them. But when it's no longer available, when it's something she has to work for, the realization hits hard. She starts to recognize what she took for granted. It's not about being cruel, it's about giving her the space to reflect, to appreciate. And in that space, she'll start to remember the best parts of you, the way you made her feel, the way you treated her with respect, the way you gave her attention when she deserved it, and the way you respected yourself enough not to chase after someone who didn't appreciate it. This is when you're no longer just a convenience, no longer someone who is there when she decides she wants you. You become a choice, a priority she has to earn. And that shift in perspective will break her down in the best way. She'll start to feel the fear of losing you, the fear of realizing that she's let someone with incredible value slip away because she didn't recognize it when she had it. And that fear, that realization, will make her fight for what she now knows she could lose. It's not about being a game player or manipulative. It's about recognizing your own worth and not apologizing for it. It's about showing her that you are not someone to be taken lightly, someone who can just be there on command. You are someone who has his own life, his own purpose, his own direction. And when you stop allowing someone to drain your energy, when you choose to stand tall and let them see what it's like without you, that's when they will truly understand the depth of your value. And that's when the pain of loss will force them to realize they might just lose you for good. When you take a step back and stop giving everything, you create a void. And in that emptiness, something powerful happens. She's forced to confront the truth. She's losing something that was once constant, something she never thought she'd have to fight for. It's not about whether she deserves you or not. It's about making her realize that you are not her backup plan, not her second choice. You are a force, a presence that deserves respect. And by pulling away, you give her the chance to understand that she cannot take you for granted. This space, this absence, is not a punishment. It's a lesson in valuing what truly matters. As the silence stretches between you, the weight of it presses down on her. It's not just the loss of your presence in her daily life, but the realization that she no longer holds the power. You are no longer the one waiting around, ready to answer her call. The fear begins to settle in, slowly but surely, and with that fear comes the awakening of desire. Not the kind of desire that is born out of a chase, but the kind that's born from the fear of losing someone who has chosen to walk away. When she starts to realize that you are not the one running after her, she'll begin to see the emptiness where you once stood. It will be a wake-up call, a reminder that you can't always rely on the person who is always available to you. Sometimes you have to fight for them. The deeper she goes into this realization, the more she'll understand the value of your absence. The human brain is wired to appreciate things more once they are no longer there. When you stop showing up without hesitation, when you stop giving her all of your attention on demand, she begins to recognize that your presence is not guaranteed. You are a choice, not a constant. The loss of that constant is what will shake her to her core. It will make her understand just how much you meant to her and how much she took you for granted. And that shift is what will make her value you in a way she never did before. In this space, you show her your worth not through words, but through actions. It's not about telling her that you deserve more. It's about demonstrating it by walking away. The action of pulling back creates an undeniable impact. The longer you stay distant, the harder it becomes for her to ignore the reality of the situation. It's a reality where you are not always going to be there for her to lean on, not always going to be available at the snap of her fingers. And the more she feels the sting of that absence, the more she'll understand what it truly means to lose you. What you need to realize is that this absence is not about you giving up on her. It's about you giving up on being undervalued. You stop chasing because you know your worth. You stop running after someone who doesn't recognize that worth. And in doing so, you give her the space to realize exactly what she's losing. That realization will hit her harder than anything else. It's the pain of loss that will change her perspective forever. It's the kind of pain that forces growth, that leads to clarity. And when she finally sees you for who you truly are, when she feels the depth of your absence, she'll never take you for granted again. When you stop giving, stop chasing, stop showing up without being asked, something remarkable begins to happen. The silence between you becomes deafening. Not just the absence of words, but the absence of your energy, your love, your presence. And in that silence, she's forced to listen to herself, to her heart, to the realization of what she's losing. For the first time, she sees the truth. She's been taking you for granted. She's been assuming you'd always be there, and now, when you're not, the emptiness of that assumption hits her harder than anything else. It's not just the fear of losing you, it's the fear of realizing that she never valued you the way she should have. This fear, this sudden void, creates a shift in her heart. It makes her question everything. Why did it take your absence for her to realize your worth? Why didn't she recognize it before? The reality is, people don't understand the value of something until it's gone. And that's exactly what you're showing her. The moment you choose to live your life, to stop bending over backwards for someone who doesn't appreciate you, you show her what true strength looks like. You show her that you are not someone who will settle for being undervalued. And that's when the respect begins to build, slowly but surely. She won't be able to ignore the change in you. The way you no longer need her to define your worth. The way you're no longer waiting around for her to decide if she wants you in her life. You've stopped giving, stopped chasing, and now you're giving yourself the one thing she didn't value enough before, your own energy, your own focus, your own love. And when she sees this shift, it will force her to wake up. The realization will hit her like a ton of bricks. You are not a given. You are a choice, and you've made that choice clear. As she begins to feel the pain of losing you, she will start to appreciate your absence in a way she never could when you were always there. The empty space you leave behind is a reflection of how much you mattered. The longer that space lingers, the stronger her understanding of your value will grow. She'll find herself wishing she had never taken you for granted, wishing she had been more aware of what you brought into her life. And that wish, that deep regret, will haunt her, pushing her toward action. But this isn't just about her feeling bad. It's about her learning something vital. You are not here to be someone's second choice, not here to be someone's backup. You are someone who knows your worth, who stands tall in the face of adversity, and who will not settle for anything less than the respect you deserve. The pain of losing you forces her to see you clearly, to see how much she truly needs you, and to finally recognize the strength it takes to walk away from someone who no longer serves you. And in that recognition, she will come to understand that your absence is not just a momentary loss. It's a reminder that you will never settle for being taken for granted again. When you walk away, when you choose yourself over constantly giving to someone who doesn't appreciate you, you create a shift not just in the relationship, but within her. The absence of your presence forces her to reevaluate everything. Her feelings, her actions, her understanding of what she's truly losing. It's not just the physical absence that hurts, but the emotional distance that speaks louder than any words could. You've stopped running after her, stopped bending to her every need, and now she has no choice but to confront the fact that she could lose something powerful. And the moment she starts to realize this, the pain starts to settle in. This isn't a pain driven by anger or resentment. It's a pain rooted in truth, the truth that you are no longer going to be there to fill the gaps in her life without being truly valued. You are no longer someone she can take for granted. The realization that you've moved on from being the one who constantly gave, who always put her needs first, is what will drive her to a place of deep reflection. She will ask herself, why didn't she recognize your worth before? Why did she wait until you were no longer available to understand the depth of what you offered? That regret, that deep yearning to undo what was once taken for granted, will settle in. And when it does, it will hit her harder than anything else. The realization that she could have lost you, and that she might never get you back, will be the wake-up call she never saw coming. In that moment, she'll see you for who you truly are. Not just someone who can be relied upon when it's convenient, but someone with depth, strength, and a sense of self-worth that cannot be ignored. And this truth will change her. She'll begin to feel the vacuum where your energy, your attention, your love once resided. No one else can fill that space the way you did. No one else can offer what you brought into her life. This isn't about you proving a point or playing a game. It's about you standing in your own power, choosing to be valued, choosing to be respected. And when she feels the weight of your absence, she will understand, finally, that you are someone who cannot be taken for granted. In the process of losing you, she will be forced to grow. She will realize that love isn't about convenience, it's about effort, respect, and mutual care. When she starts to feel the void of what she's lost, it will push her to a place of introspection, where she has to ask herself whether she's willing to make the changes necessary to truly appreciate the person she almost let slip away. You've shown her that you are not someone to be taken lightly, not someone who will sacrifice their value for someone who doesn't see it. And when that realization hits, when she understands the depth of her mistake, it will force her to confront her own feelings and actions. In that confrontation, the realization will settle deep within her. You are not just someone who walked away. You are someone who chose to protect their own heart. And that in itself will leave a lasting impact on her. She'll never take you for granted again. The pain of losing you forces a shift in her perception of what truly matters. It's not just the empty space you've left behind, it's the emotional gap that begins to echo louder than anything she's felt before. The realization begins to settle deep inside her. She might have lost someone who wasn't just a part of her life, but an essential part of her growth, her happiness, her emotional fulfillment. And now, as that realization takes root, it forces her to confront the truth she'd avoided for so long, that she was never as invested in the relationship as she should have been. She never gave you the attention you deserved. She never truly appreciated the effort, the love, and the care you poured into it. This truth stings harder than the absence itself, because while she may have ignored your value when you were always there, the moment she feels the void, she starts to understand just how much she took for granted. And that's when the shift happens. When someone feels the fear of loss, they begin to see the truth in ways they never could before. The pain she feels now isn't just about missing you, it's about the stark realization that she could have lost you forever, and that truth will leave a lasting mark on her heart. You didn't have to leave because you wanted to punish her. You left because you understood that your time, your love, and your energy are precious. You walked away not because you didn't care, but because you cared enough about yourself to stop being treated as if you were expendable. And in that moment of absence, she starts to see the strength it takes to choose yourself. She begins to understand that you are not someone who will remain in a place where they aren't valued. And that realization stirs something deep inside her. It forces her to confront her own shortcomings, her own failure to nurture what was once a beautiful connection. Now she's the one left wondering, what will it take to earn you back? She will find herself seeking answers in her own heart, realizing that she had the best thing right in front of her. And now that it's gone, it feels impossible to get back. And the more she feels this pain, the more she will learn the truth of what it means to lose someone who has learned to respect their own worth. The lesson is powerful, and it's one that she won't forget. It's not about holding a grudge. It's not about making her feel guilty. It's about creating space for her to grow, for her to realize what it truly means to lose someone like you. You've set the bar. You've shown her that your love is not to be taken for granted. And when she feels the depth of your absence, it will make her see things in a new light. The void you leave will become a mirror, reflecting everything she should have done differently. As she grapples with this new reality, she will begin to understand that the most valuable lessons are often learned through the pain of loss. She will learn that love is not about convenience, and respect isn't something that should ever be given lightly. She'll learn that you are worth fighting for. And when she finally comes to understand this, when she finally sees you for who you truly are, she'll know that the person who walked away is the same person she should have never taken for granted. As the distance between you grows, she starts to feel the weight of her own actions. It isn't just the absence of your presence, it's the absence of the emotional security she once had. The truth begins to surface. She took you for granted, and now she faces the consequences of that complacency. This is when the deepest lessons hit hardest, the kind of pain that forces someone to look inward and truly understand the value of what they had. It's no longer just about missing you. It's about realizing that losing you is something she may never be able to undo. The fear of permanent loss drives her to reflect on the nature of the relationship, on what she could have done differently, on what she failed to see when everything seemed easy. And that fear is powerful. It creates a ripple of self-awareness that won't allow her to ignore the truth any longer. She can't deny the space you left behind, the emptiness that now defines her life. The pain she feels isn't just emotional. It's the painful realization that she may have pushed someone away who truly mattered, someone who valued her enough to show up when she needed it. This is where her transformation begins. It starts with the awareness that you are not a constant, not someone who will simply accept being overlooked or underappreciated. By pulling away, you've created a mirror that forces her to look at her own choices, her own actions, and how they have affected you. She begins to see how her behavior may have driven a wedge between you, how her failure to see your worth led to a situation where you had no choice but to walk away. But this isn't just about her understanding her mistakes. It's about her growth, her awakening to the fact that love, Respect and effort go both ways. You didn't pull away to punish her. You pulled away because you realized that your love, your time, your energy are valuable. You learned that you deserve someone who gives as much as you do. Someone who understands that relationships are built on mutual respect and appreciation. And now she faces the truth. The truth that you were never going to stay in a relationship where you were undervalued, where your worth was not fully recognized. The pain she feels now is not about regret alone. It's about the fear of never having the chance to make it right. She will start to see that the very thing she neglected, the one thing she took for granted, is the thing that is now slipping away. The realization that you will not return to a place of being undervalued is what will spark a change in her. It won't happen immediately, but slowly, she will begin to reflect, to understand, to feel the full weight of what she's lost. In that realization, she will come to understand something crucial. Love doesn't thrive in the absence of respect. And respect isn't something that's automatically given. It's earned. By choosing to respect yourself, you've taught her the hardest lesson she will ever learn, that you are not someone to be taken for granted. And in this lesson, she will find the strength to change, to grow, and to ultimately understand the depth of what it means to lose you. The longer she feels the absence of your presence, the deeper the truth begins to sink in. It's no longer just a fleeting thought in the back of her mind. It's a reality she can no longer escape. You are someone worth fighting for, and now that you've stepped back, she has to face the truth of what it really means to lose you. The pain of not having you around isn't just about the empty space. It's about understanding that this space wasn't made by her, but by her own failure to recognize your value when she had the chance. That realization cuts deep. It forces her to see herself in the reflection of what she has lost. The more she dwells on this truth, the more she begins to grasp the weight of her actions. She realizes that this moment, this distance, isn't just a phase. It's not something she can take lightly. The fear of losing you for good becomes almost unbearable, and with that fear comes a deep transformation within her. This is the moment she understands that you were never the problem. It was never about her not being good enough. It was about her failing to see the greatness that was already right in front of her. You weren't just another option. You were everything. And when you stopped being there, she had to come to terms with the fact that she might have lost the one person who was truly invested in her happiness, her future, and her growth. As she starts to grasp the gravity of her mistakes, something incredible begins to shift inside her. She begins to respect herself more, because in seeing the consequences of losing someone like you, she starts to realize how precious real love, real connection truly is. She sees how much she took you for granted, how she overlooked the very qualities that made you exceptional. But this isn't just about regret. It's about her understanding that love, respect, and care are never one-sided. They are earned through action, through consistency, through recognizing each other's worth. And when you chose to walk away, you forced her to realize this truth. And now she must face it head on. This realization will stay with her, constantly reminding her that the one thing she was unwilling to nurture is the very thing she longs for now. And as the weight of your absence continues to press down on her, she will understand that the loss of you is more than just the loss of a person. It's the loss of the life she could have had with someone who truly understood what it means to give, to love, and to sacrifice for. Someone who values it. But this isn't just a turning point for her. It's a turning point for you too. By choosing yourself, by setting boundaries, by knowing your worth, you've created space for her to grow and for you to stand tall in your own strength. You've shown her what it means to respect yourself, to never settle for anything less than mutual effort and respect. And as she faces the consequences of her own actions, she will come to see that losing you was never a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of her inability to see it. And that is the greatest lesson she will ever learn. The longer she feels the absence of your presence, the more the weight of her own actions begins to settle in. She realizes that the empty space you left behind isn't just about the physical distance. It's about the emotional distance she herself created by not fully appreciating you while you were there. The truth becomes undeniable. She had something extraordinary, and she didn't protect it. She took you for granted. And now, as she faces the consequences of that, the pain of realizing she could lose you for good strikes her with a clarity she's never known. That clarity is powerful. It's not the kind of pain that pushes you away. It's the kind of pain that forces growth. It's the pain that makes her look inward and evaluate everything. The mistakes, the missed opportunities, the things she overlooked. It's the awakening she needs to become the person who can truly see your worth. As the absence of your presence lingers, she starts to question everything. Was she blind to the love you gave? Did she dismiss your efforts and take your loyalty as something that would always be there? The truth, once seen, can't be unseen. And in that truth, she finds herself standing at a crossroads. She can no longer deny that the reason she feels so unsettled, so unsure of herself, is because she never gave you the respect, the appreciation, or the recognition you deserved. She took you for granted because she never realized that someone like you could walk away. But now, in the silence, she hears the weight of your absence louder than any words you could have said. It's a wake-up call, one that might be painful but necessary. This isn't about her simply missing you. It's about her understanding that your value doesn't exist in being constantly available to her. Your value lies in your ability to stand strong in your own worth, to walk away from anyone who isn't treating you as you deserve. And when she sees this, when she finally understands that you are someone who will not settle for less, it forces her to reevaluate her entire perspective on love, respect, and relationships. She begins to realize that love is not something to be taken for granted. Love is something to be nurtured, appreciated, and fought for. And in her deepest moments of reflection, she knows that she hasn't fought for you, and she hasn't truly appreciated what you brought into her life. As the days pass and the void between you grows, she starts to recognize the depth of her loss. She might have thought that your love, your presence, was something she could rely on without effort, but now she sees how fleeting that comfort is when someone understands their worth and chooses not to be taken for granted. The pain of that realization will linger. It will push her to confront her own flaws, her own shortcomings, and to face the truth that the love she now longs for is not something that can simply be reclaimed. It is something that must be earned back. And that's when she'll finally understand the depth of her mistake. In this moment, as the weight of the truth presses down on her, she will understand one thing clearly. You are not someone who will stay in a place where you aren't valued. You are someone who knows their worth. And that realization, that moment of understanding, is when the real transformation begins for both of you. As the silence deepens, she is left with nothing but the truth of what she has lost. The pain is undeniable, but it's not the kind of pain that breaks you. It's the kind that forces you to rebuild, to look at yourself and ask hard questions. She begins to see the reality she tried to ignore for so long. You were never a given. You were a choice she took for granted. And now that choice is slipping away. The loss isn't just about missing you. It's about realizing that you were the one who valued her, who gave with an open heart, and now that heart is no longer there for her to take. And that, more than anything, hits her at her core. This kind of realization isn't just uncomfortable, it's transformative. It forces her to see that love isn't something that's just handed to you. It's something you have to fight for, something you have to earn, something you have to nurture and appreciate. When you walked away, you showed her that love doesn't thrive in complacency. It thrives in effort, in mutual respect, in the understanding that both people need to show up day after day. And the more she realizes this, the more she feels the sting of regret. She understands, perhaps for the first time, that you are not someone who will be continuously overlooked, someone who will always give and give without ever receiving the same in return. This truth reshapes her. It creates a new sense of urgency within her, a desire to make things right, to rebuild what was lost. But even more than that, it forces her to change. She will never again take someone's love for granted. She will never again assume that someone who loves her deeply will always be there, no matter how much she neglects them. The pain of losing you will drive her to become a better version of herself. She'll start to understand that love is not passive, it's active. It's not about waiting for things to fall into place. It's about showing up, being present, and putting in the work. As she sits with the weight of this realization, something else happens. She starts to feel the depth of what it means to respect yourself. The fact that you walked away wasn't an act of punishment. It was an act of self-preservation. You showed her that you will not be anyone's second choice. You will not settle for being undervalued. You demonstrated that your own worth was more important than holding on to something that wasn't fulfilling you. And that demonstration, that strength, makes her rethink everything she thought she knew about love, relationships, and respect. She begins to see the strength it takes to walk away, not in anger or bitterness, but in self-respect. In this reflection, she will understand that the love she longs for can't be forced, it can only be earned. She will come to realize that losing you wasn't just a loss of a person. It was the loss of a person who showed her, through action, what it really means to love deeply, to respect someone enough to walk away when they are no longer being treated as they deserve. And in that realization, she will learn the lesson that will stay with her forever. Never take someone who values you for granted. As the distance between you grows, she starts to realize something she could never see before, the depth of the connection she once had, the value of what she's lost. This isn't just about missing someone's presence. It's about realizing that the love she had in her life was more than just affection. It was a rare, deep bond built on trust, respect, and the unwavering commitment you gave. And now, as that commitment is no longer there, the reality sets in, she might never find that kind of love again. The recognition of this truth hurts, but it also pushes her to confront her deepest fears, losing someone who truly saw her, understood her, and loved her for exactly who she was. The fear of permanent loss is a powerful force. It's not just fear of loneliness, but fear of recognizing that the very person who cared for her the most has chosen to walk away because they realize their worth. And that fear is what triggers a deep, almost painful transformation within her. As she reflects on your absence, she can no longer ignore the fact that you were never just a placeholder, never just someone filling the gaps in her life. You were someone who added meaning, someone who gave without hesitation, and someone who truly respected themselves enough to know when it was time to stop giving to someone who didn't fully value it. This realization shifts everything. It shakes her to the core, forcing her to look at herself in a way she never did before. She starts to question her actions, her priorities, and her lack of attention to what truly mattered. She sees the reality that her complacency, her failure to appreciate you while you were there, is what led to this moment of loss. And in that understanding, she begins to understand herself better. She starts to see the gap between who she was and who she needs to become if she ever hopes to deserve a love like yours again. The awareness of this gap is painful, but it's also the first step toward true self-improvement. The pain of losing you teaches her a lesson she can't ignore, that love, respect, and appreciation must be mutual. She begins to understand that you didn't walk away because you didn't care. You walked away because you realized that your love, your commitment, and your energy should be given to someone who respects you and values what you bring to the relationship. Your decision to step back wasn't out of spite, it was out of respect for yourself. And in that respect, she begins to learn the hardest lesson of all, that love isn't something you take for granted. It's something you earn every single day through consistent effort, respect, and genuine appreciation. As she continues to reflect, she begins to understand that her fear of losing you wasn't just about losing the person. It was about losing the opportunity to experience a love so pure, so genuine, that it couldn't be replaced. And this realization, as painful as it is, will drive her toward growth. It will push her to reevaluate her priorities, to challenge the patterns of complacency that held her back, and to become someone who values herself as much as she hopes to be valued by others. In this transformation, she'll find the strength to appreciate the things that truly matter, starting with the lessons she learned from losing you. As the days pass, she begins to realize that this pain, though harsh, is exactly what she needed. The absence of your love forces her to face the deepest corners of her own heart. She can no longer hide from the truth that she neglected something valuable, something irreplaceable. It's not just the loss of a person, it's the loss of the trust, the care, and the emotional security that she once took for granted. The discomfort of this realization lingers, pressing her to accept that love doesn't always stay. Sometimes it walks away, not because the love wasn't real, but because it wasn't respected. The deeper she reflects, the clearer it becomes. She could have had everything she wanted, but she let it slip through her fingers because she didn't recognize the treasure when it was in front of her. In this moment, she finds herself standing at a crossroads. She can't change what has happened, but she can change what happens next. The pain of losing you pushes her to see that love cannot be treated as a guarantee. It must be nurtured, valued, and protected. She begins to understand that you are not someone to be taken for granted, and that realizing her mistake too late could mean the end of everything she thought she could count on. The fear of losing you forever is real, and with it comes the awakening that love, respect, and emotional security must be earned through consistent effort and appreciation. This is when she realizes that you walking away wasn't just about distance, it was about teaching her a lesson she never could have learned any other way. You didn't leave because you wanted to hurt her. You left because you wanted her to understand that respect and love are not guarantees. They are choices that both people must make every single day. You chose to walk away to protect your own worth, to show her that you will not stay in a place where you are not cherished. And it is this very choice that makes her see the value of what she lost. The more she comes to terms with this, the more she begins to shift. She starts to understand the importance of self-respect. She sees that loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself in the process. It means being able to give without losing the essence of who you are. You've shown her that love requires boundaries, self-worth, and a mutual understanding of what each person brings to the table. She begins to reflect on the things she overlooked in you, the ways she took your presence for granted. And in that reflection, something begins to change inside her. She understands that you didn't leave to punish her. You left because you know your value. And you've shown her, without a doubt, that your love cannot be taken lightly. The pain of losing you becomes the greatest teacher she could have had. It teaches her to value what she has, to never take someone's love for granted again, and to understand that respect, trust, and effort are the foundation of any real relationship. The fear of not getting you back forces her to look within, to change, and to become a person who will never again take someone like you for granted. As the days stretch on without you, the realization sinks in deeper, harder. The void you left behind becomes a constant reminder of everything she took for granted. The empty spaces once filled with your energy, your love, and your presence are now impossible to ignore. Every part of her life that was once vibrant because of your influence now feels dull and hollow. It's not just the absence of you, it's the absence of someone who truly cared, someone who saw her as she was and loved her without hesitation. The truth is simple but devastating. She never fully understood how much you brought into her life until it was too late. And now, as the weight of that truth presses down on her, she begins to see that the pain she feels isn't just a result of losing you. It's a result of her own failure to recognize your worth when she had the chance. This is the turning point. This is the moment where everything shifts. It's no longer about the fear of losing you. It's about understanding why she lost you in the first place. The distance between you forces her to confront herself, to look at her past actions and the way she treated the love that was given to her. She begins to realize that she took the easy things for granted, assuming that love would always be there, assuming that you would always be there to fill in the gaps when she needed you. But now, with that love no longer present, she is forced to face the painful truth that love isn't something to be taken for granted. It is something that requires effort, consistency, and most importantly, respect. In this moment of realization, she feels the sting of regret. She wishes she could go back, change the way she treated you, give you the recognition you deserved. But there's no going back. The past is gone, and what remains is the stark reality of what she's lost. This isn't a loss that can be easily fixed, and she knows it. But within that realization, a shift begins to occur. She starts to understand that in order to move forward, she has to change. She can no longer go through life assuming that love will always stay, that people will always be there to give. She must become someone who knows how to appreciate, who knows how to show love, and who understands the value of a person who offers it. You didn't walk away out of anger or spite. You walked away because you had to protect your own worth. You understood that your love, your commitment, your time, these things are valuable, and they deserve to be returned with the same level of respect. And in your absence, she starts to realize the depth of what she's lost. Not just you, but the realization that she can't just expect someone to give endlessly without giving anything back. The pain she feels is now a catalyst for change. It pushes her to become someone who never again takes love for granted. Someone who values what's given to her, and who knows that love is not about possession, but about mutual respect, effort, and appreciation. This pain, as much as it hurts, is the key to her growth. It is the lesson she needed in order to transform. She may have lost you, but in doing so, she has gained the awareness that will guide her toward a better version of herself, one who will never make the same mistake again. The longer she sits with the realization of what she's lost, the deeper she feels the impact of her own choices. The absence of your love isn't just an emotional gap. It's a mirror reflecting the truth she never wanted to face. She can no longer escape the fact that her neglect, her complacency, and her failure to truly appreciate you have led to this moment. It's not just about missing someone. It's about recognizing that you were the one who was always there, giving without asking, loving without hesitation, and that she never fully saw or valued that until now. And that truth stings, because deep inside she knows she should have done better. She knows she could have done more to keep the connection alive, to cherish the relationship when it still had the chance to thrive. This awakening isn't easy. It's painful. It forces her to confront the ways in which she failed, not just as a partner, but as someone who could recognize the value of what was right in front of her. The realization that you were not the problem, but that the problem lay within her own inability to see and honor the love you offered, is a powerful turning point. It's in this moment that the emotional growth begins to take root. This moment, as harsh as it may seem, is exactly what she needed to push her into a new way of thinking. She starts to understand that love doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice, a conscious effort made every day by both people involved. And the truth is, she didn't choose to invest in you the way she should have. She didn't put in the effort to make sure you knew how much you meant to her, and now she is left with the consequences of that inaction. But this is the point of transformation. This is the moment where she has the power to change, to take responsibility for her part in the loss and use it to fuel her own personal growth. She begins to understand that it's not enough to just say the words. Love requires action. It requires mutual respect, trust, and effort that doesn't waver with time. This is where the deepest shift happens. As she understands her mistakes, she starts to redefine what love means to her. It's no longer about expecting someone to love her without showing love in return. It's about learning to respect and honor the connection, to be present, and to put in the same effort that she expects from others. She begins to see the value in herself, in her own ability to grow, to change, and to become someone who no longer takes love for granted. The pain of losing you forces her to look inward, to become someone who understands that respect and appreciation must go both ways. It's in this painful space that she discovers the key to her own growth. She realizes that in order to find the love she seeks, she must first learn how to give that love back in equal measure. This lesson, though painful, is exactly what she needed to become the person she's always capable of being. In time, she will look back at this moment not with regret, but with gratitude for the transformation it brought about, because this pain is the catalyst for the deepest, most powerful change she could ever experience. The weight of this realization begins to shift her perspective in ways she never thought possible. She starts to understand that the love she once took for granted is not just a fleeting feeling, but a force that requires constant care, attention, and respect. She can no longer deny that love, at its core, is a dynamic exchange. It's something that flows between two people, built on mutual effort and understanding. The absence of your presence forces her to confront a hard truth. Love isn't something that can be expected without being nurtured. She understands now that she has to be the one to create the space for love to grow, not just wait for it to appear. As she begins to take responsibility for her actions, she realizes that the pain she's feeling now isn't just the result of losing you, it's the result of losing herself. She failed to show up, to put in the effort to treat the relationship with the care it deserved. And in doing so, she lost the one thing that could have brought her the happiness and security she was searching for. But this is where transformation begins. The deep ache of regret becomes the fuel for change. She recognizes that the person who walked away from this relationship didn't do so out of malice, but because they valued themselves enough to know when they weren't being treated as they deserved. And now, in the absence of that love, she's starting to see her own worth, something that will guide her toward becoming the person she wants to be. This understanding begins to shape her approach to love and relationships. She realizes that she cannot move forward without first learning how to love herself. She sees that the key to having a healthy relationship isn't just about giving to others. It's about knowing what she deserves, knowing her own value, and never settling for less. She starts to recognize the ways in which she neglected her own self-worth, letting it slip away in the pursuit of something that wasn't fully authentic or balanced. Now, she's learning that love begins within. It begins with self-respect, with knowing that you are worthy of love that's not just given in moments of convenience, but in the everyday acts of presence, care, and commitment. This moment of clarity becomes her turning point. She now understands that it's not enough to wish for a relationship that thrives. It's about building one from the inside out. It's about becoming the kind of person who knows how to respect themselves and, in doing so, attract the kind of love that mirrors that respect. The pain of losing you is no longer just an emotional wound. It's the catalyst that drives her towards self-discovery and growth. She begins to see that the love she seeks won't come from anyone else. It must first come from within.